What's up? Welcome to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Patrick Sheehan, and I am here with the guy who doesn't brush his teeth with a bottle of Jack anymore, Dave Martinson.
Just eating them fermented crabs from Davos, dog.
Well, you're right back in the game 5 minutes later, right? Can't blame you. So we got a packed show today. We're going to be talking about Episode 5, the Eastwatch of Game of Thrones, Kesha's Rainbows. Dave saw a movie. There's a lot of streaming news. But I want to start with something we haven't really talked a lot about so far. Or we didn't talk about pretty much at all since the beginning of the season, was The Bachelorette with Rachel Lindsay.
She got married.
And she got engaged.
Oh, right.
Yeah, to Brian. Brian was the winner. But it was interesting because the way that they split up the final episode this season was they would show when one person got kicked off, and Rachel was watching live with Chris Harrison. So then they would bring that person out that got kicked off to talk about it. So she ends up picking Brian, and it came down between Brian and Peter. Her and Peter had like this huge emotional like breakup on screen, and you could tell like they even left like saying I love you, and you could tell they were super into each other, like really really wanted to be together, but Peter wasn't willing to propose. So Rachel is like, I want to be proposed to, I'm only picking the person that's going to be my future husband. And he's like, I just don't want to propose now. I will propose to you, but I just want to like have an actual like dating life with you after the show. And Rachel's like, nah, homie. So
Sounds
like then
a normal response for a non-reality show date.
Yeah, it was like the most like it was what normal people do. And Rachel, who's been so real and has been like kind of doing the show her way, for some reason really wanted to hold to this show convention. And they ended up like when they were talking it out, they were so like snippy with each other, and they were obviously both like really into each other still. And the way that they edited it basically was like Rachel picked Brian only because he would propose to her. And it's so shitty and made me really dislike Rachel. And I don't know, man, it was not good. It was an up and down season. It was a really shitty group of guys. I know you didn't watch, probably a good season to check out.
That's what I did. Who's the next Bachelor among these shitty choices?
That's Dean? The thing is, I think Dean is the best choice. He'd be the second one that goes from the Bachelorette to Paradise and then to Bachelor, with Nick doing it the season before. So I don't know. He's also really young, so it's a little tough to see him being the choice. But there's really no one better. So I'd be interested to see if maybe they go back to somebody in a past season who they liked, or if they're like, really, we're gonna go with Dean and just try to make this next season as goofy as possible because he's a goofy guy. So I don't know. But Bachelor in Paradise starts this week. It's on actually as we record right now. So if you're watching live and you're kind of going back and forth between us and Bachelor in Paradise, what's up? And tweet at us at Nowstalgia Pod with your thoughts on this season of The Bachelorette. And keep following my Twitter at Sheeny World Peace for Bachelor in Paradise updates. So Dave,
for this BIP, because it's a lot of what do you call it, Nick seasons girls. So
right,
to see what people liked.
And it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle the whole Corinne DeMario thing, which we did speak on before. But we're not gonna get too far into that mud until we have to. Let's move on to Wind River with your boy Renner.
Yeah. Directorial debut from Taylor Sheridan, as I mentioned, what was it, last week? Yeah, last week. And he, of course, wrote Sicario and Hell or High Water. Hell or High Water was nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars last year. So Taylor Sheridan's kind of been a rising star in Hollywood, to say the least. And his third film he's been, a part of, but his first one that he directed, Wind River, just really expanded. Still not even out that much. It was only like 40-something theaters as of this weekend, but I was able to catch it. And It stars Jeremy Renner as a hunter of predators like wolves and mountain lions out in rural Wyoming, close to the Indian Native American reservation. And Elizabeth Olsen, who's the other lead, comes in as a FBI officer and regarding a murder of a Native American woman. And the whole film is really about violence against women on the res. And it's a really beautifully shot movie, as you can imagine, in the Wyoming tundra. A lot of beautiful vistas and a lot of cool, shots on snowmobiles, and even the transportation looks cool. But overall, yeah, really moving. John Bernthal comes up in one scene, really powerful, important scene to the movie, and it's tough to really, expound upon it without really spoiling it because it's such a character-driven film. But overall, I think it's definitely one of the top movies I've seen this year, and really powerful movie with a good message, and of course, great performances. So definitely check that out if you get a chance, as it expands to more theaters.
You said it was beautifully shot, and when I think about Sheridan, Hell or High Water and Sicario both stand out to me as just like really amazingly aesthetically pleasing films to watch, and like with a very unique eye, almost kind of like Rian Johnson in a way. And if you had to think about this is a really hard question because it's such a broad one, but if you had to think about like cinematography and like the directors that you like think of when you think of current best cinematographers, who is he up there for you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure who he worked with for cinematography offhand, but yeah, like you think of like guys like Roger Deakins and the people that I've worked with, like Inarritu especially, I think is top right now. Tarantino always has an original look to everything he makes. Alfonso Cuarón is a good one. Rian Johnson, as you said. But yeah, Sheridan looks like he wants to continue to direct. It's funny, he actually used to be an actor. He was on Sons of Anarchy, most notably.
Really? Who was he?
I'm not sure. He was a dude. I mean, you can look him up. He has a pretty distinct face, but he's kind of talked about how we talked about Wind River because it's about a white lead on a working with Native Americans on the Indian reservation. People might try and criticize them, for a white savior narrative. We've seen this before, terrible trope in Western filmmaking, right?
Right.
But when asked about that, he said that he didn't think he could make the movie any other way because, as a white man who was actually from Wyoming and has lived close to a reservation, the only perspective he thought he could make a movie about was that of the white man. So he thought he was being most respectful and most tasteful by basing it around a white guy's experience. Also, there's a good New York Times. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a good New York Times profile about how he was really tasteful in how he cast the film, Native American roles in the past. Sometimes they would just cast a guy to be a Native American if they looked like him. Sometimes they might be Filipino. But he said he wanted to make sure they weren't just Native Americans or weren't just had the appearance, but also had like the spirit and the culture. He kind of goes into that. And as a guy who's lived close to a reservation, it really looks like he's thought a lot about the movie that he made. And it's great that the movie works so well. So definitely recommend it. If not nothing else, the cinematography is definitely unique and worth checking out.
It's interesting because we're 2/3 of the way through the year at the end of this month, and you're starting to see movies that are definitely going to get a lot of Oscar buzz. I wouldn't be surprised if this one got a little bit of Oscar buzz, but the other one that's out right now is Good Time, right? It has the Robert Pattinson revival, back in the game, baby. So there's a lot of really good, like, smaller movies coming out right now, which, with limited releases, things like that. So definitely find a theater that you can go see these movies and take people that enjoy good movies. Speaking of good movies, Disney made some of the best movies of all time, and animated ones nonetheless. But they reported sometime last week that they're going to start their own streaming service by 2019 when all of their titles are taken off of Netflix. I mean, it's really interesting because Disney owns ABC, they own ESPN, and then news came down today, let's say the 14th, that Shonda Rhimes going to be flopping from ABC to Netflix. So Netflix punching back at Disney. So we've been talking a lot about streaming and how streaming is kind of changing the face of, or I guess the way that people take in media. What are your thoughts around this whole back and forth saga.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Disney making their own streaming service by 2019 is, I guess, kind of easy to see. Between the ABC shows, Disney XD, as well as all their feature films, they definitely have enough of a library to justify a streaming service existence. But I think the bigger takeaway that most people are saying is, when are we going to hit streaming service saturation? You know, I mean, we already have so many that in theory people should pay for. I mean, we know tons of people that will share them or only have a few and bum the rest, or use their parents' cable subscription, you know, things like that. Just because if you want to pay for HBO Go, or now Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Showtime Anytime, CBS All Access is new, and they have exclusive shows like Star Trek Discovery coming out next month. FX and AMC are expanding. There's just so many that, when is like not enough is enough, but like, when are people just not going to pay that much because you're going to be paying more than an old cable bill used to cost, you know?
Right.
So, that being said, I think Disney probably should still shoot their shot because, yeah, they have the library and the clout to pull it off, but I don't think something I would pay for.
Well, it's interesting. They've been running a beta service in Europe called Disney Life, and it's been out since 2015. And they only charge about what's equivalent to about $12, $13, which would be cheaper than most streaming services that you can get. The way I think streaming services are going to end up being, because there are so many, like you said, and I thought that was a really good point, is that you think about a service like the TV packages you can get, where you can show like Sling TV. You pay $30 a month, you get all these channels. You pay $40, you get these. You pay $50, you get these. Mm-hmm. It's going to end up where these streaming services are going to band together like that. I can imagine some of them are going to team up and offer reduced prices for certain streaming services. Like, you'll probably be able to get like Netflix and then like, I don't know, HBO or something like that. Like,
nah, none of the big ones would ever unite like that.
Like, I don't know. I could see something though where, like, you know, Netflix or HBO gets big enough where they end up buying something like smaller with that they can team up and offer a better package than just buying multiple subscriptions at a time.
I mean, I think that's really far away if that is going to happen. And if they did unite, they'd probably unite with other networks. The big streaming giants, I think, all have their own identity that they want to come out on top with, you know, even like Hulu. I don't think they would really unite with anyone besides the networks they already work with. But as you said before, Shonda Rhimes going to Netflix. Not only that, she's getting out of her ABC contract a year early, amicably at that, taking her producing partner as well as her production company, Shondaland, yeah, a road series for Netflix. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen right away, but I think that's really huge because that's kind of something that you could argue was missing in the Netflix original series. I mean, they have like the CBS shows like Fuller House and The Ranch, and they have like prestige shows like Master of None and all the auteur-driven stuff. But getting Shonda Land stuff, you know, obviously her big hits, Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. If she can make a hit like that for Netflix, again, that's just another arrow in the quiver for Netflix's catalog. So huge get because she's one of the most powerful and successful producers in TV.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about it too is, like Shonda Rhimes, obviously all the shows you named, all of her shows are already on Netflix, and they have those rights. So I wonder how they're going to end up, and how this movie's going to end up shaping the way Netflix is as a platform. Like, if they're going to end up doing something like, you know, if you want to, like, this is like a Shonda Netflix channel or something like that, or if you would need to like have like a higher subscription in order to access certain types of like streaming services. Like, if you want to be able to access these types of shows, you need to pay $17 a month rather than $15 or something like that.
Amazon does do that with anime. They have a few like tier things like that you like add on. Mm-hmm. But it's worth knowing that her big hits like Grey's and Scandal, they'll still be on ABC until they end, and ABC like owns them. So Shonda's not bringing them to Netflix, and then, as we said before, once Disney makes their own service, because they're ABC shows, they won't be in Netflix anyway. So this is really just about all of her new stuff she makes. But yeah, I think the point about tiers to your subscription cost is something that makes a ton of sense for them to do eventually.
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually one note to that is that Shonda actually already has a new show that's in development that she's gonna be working on until her contract is up. So she'll have one other maybe hit coming out, which will also be interesting to see her like produce another hit while she's already knowing she's going to Netflix. Yeah. But just another Netflix note real quick. Glow, which we touched on last week because you finally got around to watching it. You enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed it very much. Season 2 is confirmed, something we talked about a little bit. So looking forward to talking about a really well done show and with some actresses we really like. Let's see. What do you want? Let's go to Kesha next, dude. So I know that you're a big Kesha fan.
TikTok on that clock, baby.
So it was interesting because Kesha hasn't released an album since 2013 when
Cannibal was it called. We Are Who We Are was the big hit there.
Mm-hmm. And she's on the record Kemosabe, which is started by Dr. Luke, and I think it's been well documented that there's been some legal issues between Dr. Luke and Kesha. But just basically to give a quick rundown, Kesha has filed in court charges against Dr. Luke for contract breaches, for sexual assault, for basically just a lot of really horrific things. None of it has been settled yet, and actually Dr. Luke has countersued Kesha for defamation. Mm-hmm. So it's a tense situation, and to even add something on top of it, Kesha's still under contract for 2 more albums with Dr. Luke's label.
Yep.
So it's on top of that, Kesha's also gone through rehab in the past 3 years and lots of therapy. So it's this album had a lot to draw on content-wise, and actually, I think this is probably a safe thing to say, Kesha's deepest album, because her first albums were basically about partying.
Yeah, this is very different, obviously. I mean, her last hit actually was Die Young, and that's a big like radio jam, party song,
right.
pop crossover song, right? And since then, it's been almost about 4 or 5 years of inactivity for a big pop star, which is obviously bad on its own set before you factor in all the terrible things that you mentioned. And in that time, it makes sense that she may have desired to release more lyrical music, and that's clearly what this album is. A big departure from her old tunes, right? We saw that in the lead single, which is really powerful.
Yeah, Praying is classic, just ballad. But the album actually draws on rock and folk and country a lot. And doing a little bit of background on it, I guess Kesha's mom, her name is P.B. Seabird, was a country singer back in like the 70s. And there's a lot. I mean, Dolly Parton sings a song on this called Old Flames. There's a song called Hunt You Down, which sounds just like a Johnny Cash tune. And then she also works with the Eagles of Death Metal for one song, as well as the Dap Kings horns. And she used obviously new producers other than Dr. Luke because of all the ongoing stuff, and obviously she doesn't want to use him anymore. But including a song with the guy from Ryan Lewis was one, and the other one was why is his name escaping me? I can't find where I wrote it down in my notes. Ben Folds. That's who it was, Ben Folds. So it's interesting. She's drawing on new stuff, and she's obviously trying to go in a more mature direction. And I think not working with Dr. Luke and being able to explore herself as an artist is a helpful thing, because it seems like Dr. Luke, from everything I read, kind of I don't know about pushed. That might be not the right word, but directed Kesha to be more poppy rather than a more deep artist, which actually in the short term made a lot of sense, but it makes an album like this very disjointed. And like the first song is such like a low, like folky song, and then it goes right into this like hard rock song, and I literally thought like the album was like skipping around instead of like playing in order because it was just so like such like a shock.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Dr. Luke is like a Max Martin. He pushes for radio music, pop hits. So even though this album comes out under Kimosabi, which I believe is under Sony Records, but
Yep.
obviously his involvement with zero of that. So
yeah, and if you had to check one song
left
off,
behind.
yeah, absolutely. And if you had to check one song off this, I would say "Woman" is probably the one that is a standout. It sounds like Kesha, but it's a little bit deeper and it's a lot of fun. We'll put that on our playlist, which you can find on Spotify. Nowstalgia, Best of 2017. Also on our SoundCloud, or if you go to my profile on Twitter at SheenWorldPeace, it's linked at the top. So, finally, Dave, the Warhammer is back, but I'm starting to wonder because we're obviously moving towards the last 8 episodes of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
8 episodes of Game of Thrones, and
2 and 6.
There's a lot of payoff, right? How much tidying up is too much tidying up, I guess is my question, because we're looking at an episode which had a lot of really awesome things happen, but at the same time I kind of left being like like I feel like the stakes aren't as high as they used to be. Does that make sense?
I don't know if I agree with the stakes being as high. I think there's just more consolidated stakes. Is something that wasn't necessary, but at the same time, if he manages to survive his Magnificent Seven posse cut with Jon, which I don't think he will, but if he does, Jon can make him the Lord of Storm's End, as the new Lord of the head of House Baratheon,
Gendry looking like
Sam could be the
young
new
Christian
head
Bale.
of the Tarleys. Yeah, I know. I mean, he learned it from his dad, who he was strong then.
Right.
But I don't think it's like anything that's like distracting from tidying up. Like there's not that many loose ends that were left. Like we had one Nymeria scene for Arya. Gendry's we brought him back probably just to kill him off, right? Like, there's really nothing else left out there. I assumed Arya was going to show back up with maybe the Golden Company or whatever. But other than that, there's not really anything left. So I don't think it's a huge concern. But as far as the stakes, I mean, it's funny. We talked about in our Game of Thrones season preview episode, where we laid out our theories and expectations. Soundcloud.com/Nostalgia Pod. We acknowledged that Jon's mission beyond the wall, which we saw in the trailer, which is about to happen on the show now. We were trying to figure out, what that would be. What is he getting? The Horn of Winter? Is he going to get the Children of the Forest to help? No, they're just going to capture a white.
Capture a zombie.
Cersei. Like pretty awesome.
They're literally gonna Michonne, is that her name from Walking Dead?
Michonne, yeah.
Michonne, they're gonna Michonne that shit back to King's Landing. So I guess just to circle back before you get too far off, when I say the stakes, you have Jaime charge across at a dragon and get tackled by Bronn and sink, it seems like, into the depths of 100-foot river somehow, and then the next episode starts and he's just drifting at the top. Him and Bronn come up like nothing happened. Like it wasn't a big deal.
That light armor, though.
Right, exactly. And I know that you're in the Ringer death pool with some of our friends. I almost feel like there haven't been nearly as many deaths as people had predicted or expected this season, and it feels like pretty much like the fan favorites are gonna be there next season. Like I would be very surprised if any of the main characters that we've been following don't make it into season 8.
Yeah, it's looking possible that Cersei and Jaime do in fact make it. Again, not something most people were betting on. But at the same time, I mean,
and they're having a baby.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know if you buy it, but yeah, I mean, is there some plot armor going on? Yeah, of course. But I mean, all these characters are gonna have fitting ends,
Yeah.
Happy that Jaime doesn't just get randomly roasted. that Bronn did save him, so he can die a better way later. I'm okay with that. But yeah, is Jor getting healed by Sam just to get fucking killed in the snow? You bet your ass he is, and I'm okay with that too.
I know Sam's gonna be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" But actually, this actually brought up something I had a question about. Why do they even need Jaime and Cersei? Why do they need them? Why even bring them along?
It's just the story that they're telling right now. I don't know. I mean, it's better than just having Dany just roast all of King's Landing. I mean, that's not what they wanted to do, I guess. Whatever. But I mean, there is Littlefinger's not out of the woods or not out of the game yet. This source of tension he's concocting between Sansa and Arya looks like it could be consequential. So I think there's still plenty to see on this season. I wouldn't pass judgment yet until we have the whole season to reflect on as a shorter season when it's quick and pace and expedited plot. I think we can reflect on that once we have the whole season as a whole.
Right, and that's the thing is that even though there's, I think without the books to draw from and with the somewhat arbitrary timeline that they've set for themselves to finish this up, they've had to cut some corners, do some things that maybe could have used some more time to really suss out. But in the end, if next week plays out the way that everybody's expecting to play out, and it's one of those episodes that you just like it ends and you're just like, whew, like holy shit. It doesn't, like, all these little things don't really matter because it does something no other TV show on that's on currently can really do, which is it just leaves everybody in awe.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's good.
So what do you see? What do you see playing out next week? I mean, it's the penultimate episode. They've been known for some amazing penultimate episodes. What do you expect to happen, or what are you predicting?
Yeah, definitely Blackwater, Hardhome, Battle of the Bastards, a lot of great ones. I think everyone except Jon and one other person will die. I think that last person is probably the Hound, maybe Tormund. I think Beric and Thoros are 100% goners. Gendry probably too. Jorah probably as well. That's what I think is going to happen. Whether they get the white or not, I don't think really matters at all. If you look in the scenes of the next episode, it's on their YouTube channel. You saw at the end of the episodes, it's like a minute tease. There are a bunch of guys with torches leaving the Night's Watch. I assume that's brothers. So maybe they get any action. Maybe Ed kicks the bucket. I don't know. Other than that, like obviously that's easy to predict, right? We see everything that's going to happen between the trailers, the scenes, right, and how that episode ended. But Dany and Tyrion and Jaime and Cersei, it's a little harder to foresee. I mean, guys like Varys and Melisandre, what happens with them, I think, is, who knows. Last episode really kind of hammers home the point that Jon is by far and away the main character of the story, not Dany. A lot of people have been saying this, but with stumbling across the fact that Jon actually was a legitimate heir to Rhaegar Targaryen and thus the rightful heir to the Targaryen throne and the throne, that source of conflict between Dany and Jon, I think, could be fascinating if it does come to head. So whether that, I think that, or at least Jon's identity will find everyone by the end of the season.
Right.
So seeing what that means, I think, is going to be awesome.
What do you think of Sam just being like, "Yo, nice watch," or nice watch, Maesters, peace out. I'm out of the Citadel. I'm heading back to my boy.
Yeah, he was tired of being patronized. Cleaning up that poop and getting all the scrolls he didn't want to read. So that's cool. And now with Dickon and his old man Randall roasted, he's technically the heir to Horn Hill. I mean, he left the Night's Watch. I don't know. Can he hold lands? Not really. I mean, Jon can just say you can do whatever, So that's in play. And he has a Valyrian steel sword, Heartsbane, that he stole off Randall's mantle last season. Mm-hmm. So that could be useful. So yeah, there's a lot more to happen this season, and should be pretty crazy.
I guess my only question really at this point is, where's Euron? Dude was like kicking ass the first couple episodes, and he's been kind of MIA.
Next time there's a fight for Cersei's forces, I'm sure he'll be there, probably at King's Landing on boats, you know.
Is he? If Cersei decides to join up with him, is he going to fight with everybody else? I can't imagine that.
You mean Euron changing sides? I don't think he would. No, he seems pretty nuts.
I mean, if this mission is successful and it somehow does work to like convince Cersei and Jaime that they need to team up, is Euron going to be like, oh, okay, I'll just fight with everybody else now? I can't imagine that.
It's not going to be successful. It's not even worth entertaining.
Oh shit! All right, well we'll see.
Also of note, no one in the posse is wearing hats because camera angles and faces. TV making. Also, Ghost, very useful on this ranging. Not there because money.
Yeah, when you go into like a devastating winter storm, you probably at least want to wear like some earmuffs or something. Help a brother out. But they all have long hair pretty much, so maybe they'll just cover that. I don't know. But
also shout out Kit Harington, who's fucking short. It's like 5'8", 5'7".
Most good actors are though, right? Tom Cruise 5'6".
Bruno Mars, really really short too. Talented guys are short sometimes. It's okay.
Sometimes.
It's funny because he's such a badass and he's not actually that imposing.
He's Jon Snow. He's so emo, man. Like even when he's just sitting on that cliff by himself when that dragon
saw the Night King.
Yeah, he does that so much. Like, does he just take time out of his day to go sit by a cliff and ponder all day?
He's focused on the goals, man.
There's no time for this. You know what I've seen? John. All right. Well, we'll definitely be talking next week because it looks like this is going to be a classic episode coming up. So if you want to hear more Game of Thrones talk, follow Dave, myself, and the pod at Martin Swagger, at Sheeny World Peace, and at Nowstalgia Pod, respectively, on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe right there, somewhere like that. And
please subscribe. It's really helpful. If you're listening to us on MP3 somewhere, if you don't want to use YouTube, that's okay. But help us out with subscription. It really helps us get noticed. So that would be cool.
Yeah, and if you leave comments or reviews on iTunes, we'll read them. We want to interact with you guys, so give us some feedback on what you want to hear. And I mean, it's going to be an exciting week. Game of Thrones. There's probably some music coming out. I haven't had a chance to really look.
ASAP Ferg second mixtape out Friday. Still Striving. Also out Friday. Logan Lucky, Steven Soderbergh film with Adam Driver, Channing Tatum, Daniel Craig, Katie Holmes, many others. Excited for that. Yeah, got so many.
Hopefully I'll get a chance to see that. Or if I can find a theater, Good Time would be great to see.
And Wind River, watch that too.
If I get that's probably like third on my list at this point, but I'm gonna try to get to it. But in the meantime, thank you for listening. We love you. Peace out.